Blue from Blue's Allotment, just up here on a Sunday afternoon, planting another row of early potatoes. I've already got 2 rows in, as you can see. It's going to be the 3rd one, and then I'm going to wait a couple of weeks to set my main crop. See that bit, the chitted bit? The chitted bit, you have it on up, facing upwards in the hole. So you plant them in there, and then we'll cover them in a bit. But they're already chitting nicely from out my conservatory. Oh, it's a long way down there when you're 79 years old. Potatoes in, and they're going to cover them in, do a small ridge until they come through, and then I'll ridge them up higher later on as the weeks go by. Another row in, so we've now got a total of 3 rows, and when they come through I'll possibly have to put some sort of netting on them to stop the frost getting them if there's going to be any frost, some fleece or something. So I do that normally, but I've got some more main crop potatoes to go in, which won't go in till the end of the month. My cold frame, because I've got some lettuces which was brought on in the heat of my conservatory, and they're going to be early. I'm going to put them under the glass and then try to get a continuation of them. I've got 2 lots in there, one's already big and the other one's coming through, and I've got some seeds now coming up. Right, just firming the ground down in the cold frame. I've got 3 types of lettuce. One I've got in through the heat, which you can see these ones here, which are Little Gem, and then I've got some curly leaf ones there. I can't think of the name at the moment. They're the ones you cut and come again. And then I've got some Cos lettuces just coming through over on that shelf, which I'll be putting in, so you get a continuation of lettuces every week. Like a grasshopper. Right, so there we go. I just need to get some water now. Put some. That's probably more than enough though, isn't it? I'll water them when I get them in. Right. It's not really the way to do it. That's the quickest way to get them out. A while. It's a handy little tool. Just make the hole to put them in the size you need the hole. It's a dibber. And then put the glass back on the top to protect them, and then just hopefully they grow quite quickly. And we could be eating lettuces before Easter. Yeah, that's that job done. Just have to check on them, make sure they're not in water. In here, I've sowed red beet, which are now up, and you might not be able to see them because they're very tiny. You see them? There's the shallots, Stuttgart, planted about 6 weeks ago, and they seem to be doing well. And then I've got some one row of onions which were left over from last year, and I managed to survive. And then I've got 5 rows of parsnips across there. The onion sets in here, which I'm starting in the greenhouse because the birds pull them out, so I'm letting them get a bit rooted and then transplant them out then, so it'll give you a better start. Because otherwise you plant them out, the birds pull them out, you've got to put them back in, and I find this the best way to do it. Compost's been over one root of rhubarb, and hopefully that's growing. That looks so it's going to be out the top in another week or so. If you photograph that, Steve. And that's the other ones coming through. Surgeon friend who's got allotment further down gave me all this chippings, what he shredded up, and I put that on top to mulch, to make it better on the asparagus. Hopefully we'll see when it comes through whether that's done any good or not. We have 4 black currant bushes which I pruned earlier on in the season, which hopefully now should bear some good fruit. Just put a net over this frame, so when my brassicas get ready in a couple of months' time, I'll be able to set them in there with no risk of whitefly later on. Yeah, we've got 4 trays of asters which are going to go out in the next few weeks once they get established, and I've got another 2 trays of red beet ready to prick out once the weather gets better. Here's my other lettuce coming through, you've already seen that. Seeded this tray of cost lettuce, which will keep the thing going. And then in here, I've planted up my French beans 2 days ago, which will go out in about a month. And then we've got some leeks coming through, which hopefully will be okay in there. And then in that tray, I've got spring onions, which I've just seeded. This is going to be for tomatoes when the time is right, and these are Marigold's gold seeds, which look a bit wispy at the moment. They're not very good. Might have to do another lot of them. Crocuses, which I've had in there for 2 or 3 years. That's where saffron comes from. They pick the flowers, big growers, and then make saffron from it. So saffron comes from crocuses, and the Romans brought that over here when we was conquered, and then they used to grow loads of it, and that's where the name Saffron Walden comes from. Yeah, so I dug all this over in the winter time when it was colder, and that end of the allotment as well, so it's all been hand dug, and then I've stepped it all down, squashed it down tight so I didn't lose the moisture from it, because this is light land, and that's the only problem we have with the water. It just goes straight through, so you try to keep it as moist as you can. But that's all ready for planting up now with new seeds as and when the time comes. Here we have a a wire mesh, just something I picked up, an archway, and I'm going to grow French climbing beans up there. They're already in the greenhouse, just in pots at the moment. So in a few weeks I'll be doing that. Over there is what they call a Harris frame. That's a bit bent. The builders just give me it because that's no good to use anymore for safety. So I've made that into a, I'm going to grow runner beans up that, starting at the end of April. And it's time to put them out. Where I put the mulch, so I can use that as and when in the summer, keep things cool. The roots wrap it around some of the roots of some of the plants. So I just store it in there, hopefully get some more. My friend does that for a living.